Morning, everybody. I'm moving on to my second Hirst Arts dry brushing vid, using the same brush, and we're gonna move on, and we're gonna actually do the War Machine / Imperial Guard / Dwarven what have you, Gothic fieldstone. Okay, Gothic is the next easiest to do, in my opinion. Fieldstone is by far the easiest. However, in contrast, it's the hardest to cover with a black paint. You've always got to remember to turn it upside down and hit what's called your undercuts. Your undercuts are the negative area underneath a brick, like your upper part of the brick, and like the front, probably 2/3 of it will be fine, but that 1/3 and that whole undercut will be whatever the color plaster it is you're working with. Usually it's a white or I work with a dark gray, so if it gets chipped, it still stays in color with the paint job I put on it. Keeps the upkeep of the terrain easier. It's a pretty big jump though between fieldstone and Gothic, because the texture is very minute in comparison to these big huge brick lines and big stones. So you're going to want to go with a very light touch. Now remember, how do I say this? The coverage is going to be the same. We want 75 with the first layer, 50% with the next layer, 25% with the third layer. But because there's not a lot of depth there, it's going to be more challenging. It's going to require a steadier hand, a lighter pressure, and your medium colors are going to become much more challenging to apply, because you're working with very minimal depth. The one after this is sandstone, which is, there's virtually no depth at all. It's almost entirely controlled by how truly dry that tip is, and that's what's going to really make the difference between it taking and not taking. Now, one thing that's going to be a little bit different with this set than my other set is it's featuring several, well, not terribly different, but there's different materials, and in particular, the metal is going to be a real challenge. Oh, I have to fix that. Sometimes your sand gets down in little areas. I don't know if you can see that, but down in that groove there by the pipes, that sand covered up the base, and it stopped the black paint from getting down in there. Sometimes just taking an old pen and just tracing through it, giving it a good, blast air. But again, I don't know if this is helping. We got about 75% coverage with this layer. Wow, time is flying. Okay. Gotta remember to clean out your brush because we're going to a lighter color. Also, with this less texture, I'm using like Bounty or any kind of like a napkin or whatever, quilted paper. I'm trying to get as much water out of here as I can, because I have less variation in that surface. Quaker Gray. My first one was Folk Art Medium Gray as my base coat. well, not my base coat, but my first layer dry brush. So remember, you want a really dry brush on this one, and we're going for 50% coverage, and it's going to be a real challenge for those of you who aren't totally at home with this in your hand. So be forgiving yourself. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to get better over time. But you know, be understanding with yourself, because this isn't easy. I've been doing this for years, and I still have, you know, you have days that you're on and you have days that you're off. Any artist will tell you that, and if they don't, then either they're not very aware of their work or they're lying to you. There are days that your fine motor coordination and your touch is just fantastic, and there's days that you work for every square inch that you're putting it down. But I mean, as you get better over time, your base control will become better and better and better. You know, so I mean, that's what makes your stuff, you know, consistent enough to sell, consistent enough for people to buy. Okay, I've got 50% coverage on this now. I'm sorry I can't get this closer because the light is really poorly set up. Wait, that helps a little bit better. Okay. I hope you could pick up the variations there. I'm going to move on to my highlight color now. Okay. Oh, wow. My highlight color is Americana Sky Gray. Americana Sky Gray. And now you want your brush really, really, really dry. You know, always clean your color out. But man, it's very, very important that you get this thing as dry can be. I sometimes rub it across my hand to test how wet it feels. And if it's too wet, go right back to the paper. And after a couple more strokes on the paper, say, okay, alright, that's not too horrible. In this case, it was. Bigger brushes hold more water too. They take more time, more patience to get the water out. Okay, now I'm going with as little of that paint on my brush as I can, okay? You can always put on more, it's hard to put on less. And once again, just like I did with the Fieldstone, I want to concentrate on my edges first, because that's where the sunlight catches. Here, let me see how I'm kind of following those areas that stick out. You know, even like the monk and stuff, because the monk is sticking out, the monk is going to catch more sunlight than that wall is. Okay. Now, I've hit all my edges. Now I'm going to go back and hit all my flat edging, okay? And remember, less is more in this case. You're only looking for 25% coverage. Okay. And you're going to get some halo around stuff, which is alright. Because what's going to do, it's going to make your stuff that's sticking out more prominent, or even more prominent. Like, I want them to notice my monk, and I want them to notice that. And when I go back and I do my metal work on that pipe, I'm going to want them to notice that pipe. Okay? So that's okay. Once again, you always run with the biggest brush you can run with. Because for one, it makes your coverage a little more consistent, and let's face it, when you're doing this, you're usually trying to get a whole city up or a whole whatever up. If you can get it done twice as fast with a bigger brush and have a more consistent look, why wouldn't you? Take care, everybody. Oh, I want to do one other thing. I've been watching some battle reports, and they're really, really good. Go check out Dormicom, and go check out Tony Pony. Tony Pony. They are very, very cool. And it's always neat to see the game done, you know, live. So check it out. I've been checking it out. Very, very cool. Everybody send a nice email to Bootleg. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.